take my phone so it goes away. Thank you.
Helping high school students choose the right college can be tough. For admissions reps, you're challenged with limited time, resources, and efficient ways to connect with numerous high schools. For high school counselors, you're swamped with massive caseloads, making it impossible to schedule quality conversations with students and colleges. Students need to be reached in personalized yet cost-effective ways, so they have the opportunity to discover and interact with colleges they couldn't before. College Week Live's High School Connect revolutionizes the way colleges and high schools meet. It brings them together through live, online interactive meetings for the students, giving them an engaging, approachable environment to discover the schools that fit them best. College reps get access to a wide network of high schools and counselors that they can search by criteria, getting them in front of students they didn't have the resources to reach before. High school counselors get direct contact with colleges and can now bring experts into the classroom digitally, alleviating much of the administrative burden. Simply invite schools through High School Connect and track upcoming meetings in your own dashboard. Whether you're close by or oceans away, High School Connect builds new relationships for high school counselors and college reps, while also strengthening existing ones. Best of all, it's 100% free for students and counselors. Expand your reach and relationships with College Week Live's High School Connect. It's a highly effective way of giving students the ability to find the right schools and make the best possible college decision.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the Counselor Professional Development Series presented by College Week Live. My name is Juan Garcia, and you are tuning to the broadcast of Hispanic Students, the Condition of College and Career Readiness 2014. Today, I will be comparing and contrasting data regarding college readiness among Latino Hispanic students. The presentation will point to opportunities for improvement in college and career readiness among underrepresented students. Please note that in order to receive hours towards your CEU, you must complete the brief survey at the end of this presentation. If you're viewing this presentation on demand, you will need to take a short quiz in order to receive your contact hour and certificate of completion. Before we get started, I would like to remind our audience that we will be taking questions in real time throughout this presentation. You can send me your questions anytime during the program through the box in the lower left-hand side of your screen. So the title of the presentation, the 2014 Condition of College and Career Readiness of Hispanic Students, the data collected from ACT. Again, my name is Juan Garcia, and I serve as Assistant Vice President in Client Relations. The agenda covers information about ACT. What did we find on the 2014 report at the national level? What trends are we seeing for Hispanic students? First generation students report, this is the first time we have done this in partnership with COE, and you'll learn more about that coming up. What resources are available to you, and then we have time for Q&A at the end and throughout the presentation. Let me first tell you about ACT. As an organization that is a nonprofit, we are mission-driven. Our mission, as you can see it on the screen, says helping people achieve education and workplace success. This is what we do, and it drives everything that we do as we help students, practitioners, and educators on how to improve student success for college or career. You can see our values. I'm not going to read them all, but this information will be available. The entire presentation will be available after we get done. So for the graduating class of 2014, the students who graduated from high school this year, 1.8 million students took the ACT. This is the largest and the most diverse group of students so far in our history. So 1.8 million students, you can see by the color of the states. The darker the color, the more students that have taken the test in that state. Now, as it relates to our Hispanic students, of the 1.8 million students who took the ACT, 281,000 were Hispanic or identified themselves as Hispanic. The number grew from last year. Last year, we had about 266,000 students who identified themselves as Hispanics taking the ACT. Now, for the last 5 years, what we have seen is that the number of Hispanic students taking the ACT has grown almost 100%. So for our audience and for the people that we serve, what does that say about this cohort or this group of students? They're having more aspirations. They see themselves as college students, and they're going to college. Now, the question is, are these students meeting the college and career readiness benchmarks as set by ACT? So when we're talking about college readiness benchmarks, or how do we define college readiness? At ACT, we define this as the level of achievement a student needs to be ready to enroll and be successful in a non-remediation class on a first-year college. This is the academic readiness in English, math, reading, and science. Other domains that are not included yet, but they're coming up, for example, behaviors and goal setting. This is relevant to 2- and 4-year post-secondary institutions. So how did ACT come up with this? What data drove our college readiness benchmarks? As you can see on the screen, the college readiness benchmarks are the scores that a student needs on a specific subject area for him or her to be successful. We work with over 230,000 post-secondary students at over 200 plus different post-secondary institutions. Now, they included 2 years, 4 years, public and private institutions. So when we're talking about college readiness benchmarks, here are the numbers. When the student takes the ACT, we're talking 18 in English, 22 in math, reading 22, science 23. And that's the score. You know that the ACT goes from 0 to 36. Now, with these benchmarks, the data shows that a student who meets the benchmarks on the ACT will have a 50% chance of obtaining a B or higher on that corresponding first-year class, and a 75% chance of getting a C or higher on the same class. So the benchmarks are there. This is empirical information that our research shows is needed to be successful in the first-year college class. Now, when the student receives his student report, you can see that it's broken down by the score received. Now, the score received will show what the student should be able to do or is ready to do based on that score. Also shows what the student is ready to learn to the next step. So it gives you, as an educator, it will give you an idea of where the student is and where that student can go or is ready to go next. Now, it's talking about the students who took the ACT. As you can see here, looking at the pink color, you can see that over the last 5 years, the number of Hispanic students has grown significantly. More students are taking the ACT, more of our Hispanic students, again, almost 282,000 students this year. For the number of students the percent of students who, the aspirations that they have. Now, these are the students who are saying, I graduated from high school, I am going to college, I am going to receive a degree. If you look at the colors here, the darker colors indicate that a student is aspiring to receive a graduate or professional degree. The light blue will show you a bachelor's degree, and the lighter blue will show an associate degree. What is important to note here is that students they want to get a degree. They want to go to college. Again, what can we be doing earlier to help those students be ready for that first year in college? Now, look at the numbers here for students broken down by ethnic group when it comes to meeting the benchmarks. Again, we have blue for English, orange for reading, green for math, and pink for science. And then the gray one shows how many of the students met all 4 subjects, meaning they met all 4 benchmarks and they are ready, what we will say college and career ready. Now, if you look at our Hispanic students, look at the colors in English. 40 plus percent of the students who met that benchmark. That's less than half. The same thing for reading, math, science. So out of 281,000 students who took the ACT, only 14% met all 4 benchmarks. Only 14%. Now, the number is also lower for our African American folks, which only 5% and then 10% for American Indians. So there is a lot of work to be done, but again, a lot of work to be done with high aspirations. So our students ready and willing to, to push a little harder and get that more rigor during their high school career so they can push themselves. The percent of students, Hispanic high school graduates, meeting the college readiness benchmarks by subject. So as we're talking about our Hispanic students, we're again seeing the 14% compared to all students, 14 versus 25. So of the 1.8 million students who took the ACT, only 25% met all benchmarks. 25%. So we're talking 1.8 million, about 450,000 students met the benchmarks, and we have more than a million, almost 1.5 million who met some, but not all of them. And then you can see the breakdown by English, reading, math, and science. The lowest one obviously being science at 21% for our Hispanic students versus 30% for all students who took the ACT. Here you can see the percent of tested Hispanic high school graduates by the number of ACT college readiness benchmarks. Again, call your attention to the larger right side of the pie chart where more than 100,000 students met no benchmarks. These are the students who, again, graduated from high school, have a high school diploma. Chances are they completed the FAFSA, they took the ACT, they're reporting these grades to colleges, and they're borrowing money to go to college. However, they haven't met a single benchmark in English, math, reading, and science for that first year college experience. So how successful are they going to be if they're not ready? The percent of ACT tested high school graduates meeting 3 or more benchmarks by race broken down. So we have African American at 10%, our Hispanic students at 24%. So these are the students who met 3 or more. So 24% of our students met at least 3 or more benchmarks. Again, and look at our Asian American students, 57% versus our white students, 49%. Now, where are students going and what are they enrolling based on the information that is reported when they register for the ACT? Hispanic students, they're going to 2-year colleges, 4-year public, and 4-year private. As you can see by the breakdown of the colors, there are different, it's pretty consistent among all different groups. Now we're going to have the different type of colleges, and again, the data is very consistent on whether the students are going in-state or out-of-state, and that is pretty standard across all ethnic groups, with Hispanic students being wanting to stay closer to home, and I think that's something to do with the culture, the family situation, perhaps the savings of no staying in the dorm, and perhaps staying closer to home. I see that we have a couple of questions coming in. I'll be looking at those in just a minute, so bear with me as we go through some of the data slides. Then I'm going to pause, answer some questions, and we'll go from there. Students who are enrolling in college following the following fall after their graduation. So this is an interesting trend, and as you can see, it has been growing for the last 4 years, where more students are going to college following high school. That's what we want to see. That's what we need to make sure that more students and all students are doing. However, we also want to make sure that if 86% of the students are going into college, we need to make sure that they are ready for that first year college so that they don't have to take all these remediation classes, which, as you know, remediation classes will mean the student gets discouraged, he or she is not getting college credit, they won't come back after semester 1, or they might come back for the second semester, and after year 1, they decide that they're not getting enough credit, they don't like this college thing, and now they have student loans. They have a high school diploma, but they don't have any college certificates or diplomas, and they have student loans to pay for now. Look at the educational progression of students. We follow this cohort of students from 8th grade through graduation and into college, and see, this is an interesting trend to see. So we started with the 8th grade cohort, 100% of the students. As we look at Hispanic students along, they're in the middle of the chart, 100% of students that started 8th grade, only 66% of them graduated high school. So we dropped 34% right there in high school. Out of those, how many students started college? 31%. How many received an associate's degree? 9%. How many of them went for a BA? 7%. So if you started with 100% 8th grade students, by the time they receive a bachelor's degree, only 7% of those Hispanic students will do that. So 93% of those students are facing some type of challenge, or maybe started and did not finish. So what is going on, and how can we help those students? And we'll get to some best practices towards the end, where hopefully you walk away with some ideas on how to help your students. Again, if you look at African American students, pretty similar to Hispanics, 64%, 35% started college, 11% receive a 2-year degree, and about 10% go for a BA. Now, if you look at the white non-Hispanic students, the graduation rate is obviously higher at 82% graduating high school, 59% starting college, then 28% getting an associate's degree, and 24% receiving a bachelor's. Now, if you look at our Asian Pacific Islanders, the numbers are even higher. Our 100% of the students that we follow from the 8th grade up, and 92% of them graduated from high school. 73% started college, 37% received an associate degree, and 35% of them received their bachelor's. So if all students have aspirations of going to college, what are some of the barriers that we can help remove for these students and their families so they can continue? Now, we're going to talk about the condition of college and career readiness as it relates to the first generation students. These are the students who identify themselves as first generation, and what does that mean? In this case, we partner with the Council for Opportunity in Education to do the report together. So first generation students are, within the report, are students of parents who did not enroll in the post-secondary education. According to COE, those are parents or students of parents who didn't complete a bachelor's degree. For this report, we're talking about 335,000 students, or about 19% of all students who took the ACT. Remember that we are doing census testing in about 11 states. That means all juniors are taking the ACT in 11 states, and it represents about 57% of the graduation class. So what did these students say? 94% of first-generation students aspire to earn a post-secondary degree. Remember earlier we were talking about Hispanic students and the aspirations they have to go into college and get a degree. The same thing for our first-generation students, 94%. So you're going to see some of the data is similar as it relates to just Hispanic students. So if you look at all students, for example, for a bachelor's degree, all students, 44% said, yes, I'm going to go to college and I'm going to get a bachelor's degree. In this case, our first generation students, 52% of them. So that's more than half of the 331,000 students who identify themselves as first generation saying, yes, I'm going to get a bachelor's degree. College readiness benchmark, how are they meeting the benchmarks compared to all students? When it comes to English, 64% of all students met the benchmark. For our first generation students, only 42%. The same thing with reading, 44% versus 24%. 24% of the students that met that reading benchmark. And that is critical because if they're not reading at level or meeting that benchmark, how are they understanding some of the problems presented as part of the test? The same thing for math. 44% of all students met the math benchmark, only 22% of our first generation students. Science, and this is very important as well, 36% versus 17%. And when it comes to all benchmarks, 26% of all students met all four of the benchmarks. Only 9% of the first generation students did the same. That is less than 33,000 students of the 331,000 students who identified themselves as first generation. So a lot of work to continue to do to help all these students. Now, if there is one chart to remember, this is a big one. So students who are on the top, the light colored chart says these students are below the benchmark by more than 3 points. The middle one, the one that says 13, 13, 8, and 14, these are the students who are within 2 points of the benchmark. So they're very close to meeting the benchmark. And obviously the bottom one, the darker color ones, these are the students who met the benchmark. So let's look at English, for example. We have 42% of the students who met the English benchmark. 13%, or about 43,000 students, are within 2 points of the benchmark. So if you do that across, we're looking at over 150,000 students who didn't meet a benchmark, but they're very close. So what kind of intervention can we have in the classroom to push these students a little harder, apply more rigor to the classes, and have the students push themselves and understand that if they do that, they're going to be much closer to be college and career ready. Again, the same thing, looking at a pie chart from the first generation of students, 52% met not a single benchmark, compared to all the students on the right side on the small pie chart, where only 31% of the students met the benchmark. So what is important to remember? What we have learned together through this study is that students face, a lot of barriers, but it gives us a better understanding of how they are, the aspirations they have to go to college. But they do face many challenges to their academic success, and that many of them are not ready academically. The biggest thing to remember out of this group, nearly 94% of our first generation students aspire to earn some form of post-secondary degree. So they have the aspirations, and as we marry those with the academic achievement that they need, how much better can those students be? 2 out of 3 took ACT's recommended core curriculum, which is great, and 60% of 8th and 10th graders were on target to be academically prepared for college-level courses in at least one subject, at least one. So how can we help them to, instead of just being 1, be 2, be 3, perhaps all 4 benchmarks? Wanted to touch and spend a little bit of time here on the additional resources. As I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, ACT is a non-for-profit. Part of what we're doing is, as a nonprofit, last year, towards the end of the year, we launched a new product called ACT Profile. ACT Profile, you see there on the logo that is on a beta mode. It is on a beta mode because it keeps being updated, every other week, every month. There is updates that we're doing to the system. It's ready to use. It's being used right now. It's a free online tool that helps the students answer the college and career planning question, what do I want to do? As counselors, this is a great tool to have because it's going to help you connect your students to a tool that is going to help them find what it is that they're good at. When I talk to students, and the students say, I don't know what I'm going to do, I don't know what I want to be, I'm not good at anything. Students they're all good at something. Perhaps they don't even know what that something is, but I tell the students, you are good at something. There is something that you do very well. Again, you just haven't found it yet. So the tool will offer students the powerful insights they need to make smarter decisions about their next steps, how to find a career, what it is that they can find more out about a career that they like to follow or pursue. So this is what ACT Profile looks like. As you can see on the right-hand side, part of the tool includes 3 assessments, 3 inventories: your interests, your abilities, and your values. Once the student takes these quizzes that take just a few minutes, they're very technology driven. They have pictures, and do you like to work with your hands? Do you like to work with people? Different questions to try to get an idea of how the student is and what he or she likes. Now, we also know that students can like one thing today, 3 months later, they will totally like something totally different. And as they grow and develop, also their interests, their values, and their abilities are going to change. So the student can do these inventories as often as they want, and based on that information, start looking at different career fields, what kind of classes they need to be taking, what kind of information they need to be gathering right now, and based on what grade level they're in, what should they be doing right now. I'm going to go to the next slide so I can actually show you what the major map looks like. A student here can say, well, I like to get into education. Well, within education, what kind of careers are there for me? What kind of classes do I need to be taking depending on what kind of major I'm following? So the student can start exploring and perhaps discover things about himself or herself that they didn't know. The fact that perhaps they like to work with numbers, even though, yeah, they like math, but they don't care about math too much. I had a student who told me, I want to be an accountant, but I hate math. Well, that's a huge disconnect. As a student, the earlier you start asking those questions and finding things about yourself, if you want to have, a career as an accountant, you're going to have to deal with numbers. You're going to have to deal with math. So what can you be doing while you're in middle school or high school to start identifying your strengths and maybe start taking those classes who are going to help you find those skills for that career. Let me take just a second to look at some of the questions. Will a copy of the presentation be available after this? Yes. Somebody says here that the right side of the slides is not visible to the group. I don't know if we can look at that and see if the right side of the screen is actually showing up on the people who are viewing the presentation. Do these statistics take into consideration ESL students? Now, when the student registers for the ACT, we don't ask, there is no information on ESL students. However, it's something that we're going to take back to our research team because last week at a conference, I was asked the same question. What are we doing about ELL students? I, for example, came to this country when I didn't speak any English. So how is that taken into consideration when a student is taking the test? So we'll look at that. The question whether the data presented here is only for ACT takers. Yes, the data that you're seeing is only for students who have taken the ACT and graduated from high school this last year. If students who are not English speakers take the test in a different language? No, right now the ACT test is only available in English. The reason being is a student is attending at a high school in the States that is speaking English. Let's see what other ones are here. I think those are the 4 that we have for now. Okay. Thank you for all those questions. We'll continue. People are saying that now they can see all the slides, so great. We'll continue. So once the student has taken the inventories about their abilities, their values, and their interests, the student is going to land on what you might have heard before, our Wheel of Work map. This is a map where the student will land Do you like to work with your hands? Do you want to get into business? Are you more of a technical career, or arts, or social service? Based on what the student have responded, the little letters on the wheel will light up based on whether they match one, two, or the three skills, abilities, and values of the student. Now, what happens within the tool, the student then can drill down and find out what kind of careers are within that field. What can I do as a student to start exploring what those careers are? Then it gives information as of today. What is the salary for a position within that field? What kind of college classes a person will take to achieve that career, or to complete that career? And then it brings the student back. So if you are in high school, what are the things that you need to be doing if this is where you want to be? We're hoping to help align that disconnect that sometimes is there when somebody says, yes, I want to be a nurse, or I want to be a doctor, but I don't like science. So, and you are, I'm preaching to the choir here because you deal with the students every day. Again, another question that comes up, can I have a copy of the presentation after it's done? Yes, you can. It will be available through College Week Live after we get done. ACT, social media. Yes, we are all over social media. We have Twitter, Facebook, Pinterest, LinkedIn. You can see the address there. You can follow the ACT tests. We have information on when the tests deadlines are coming up, so that the students don't have to pay any late fees for registering to the tests. You can follow us on Twitter. You see the ACT student question of the day. Have another question, whether this data is comparable to SAT findings. Obviously, we're talking about two different assessments, two different sets of data. What we have is, the data that is presented based on the students who took the ACT. Something to help your students. The question of the day allows the students to put a solution into their own words. What is that question that it changes every day is in our website under our student section. Something that I also wanted to mention as a resource for counselors, one of the benefits of ACT Profile for you, one, is a free tool, right? It's free now, and it's free for as long as we're going to have it. And what we have also is the last release that we did last month, where a counselor can create an account. Now you can have information based on your cohort students. Do you have 8th graders or 9th graders? You can separate those students by a group. Students within that group will give you permission as a counselor to see the results of their inventories. Now, ACT Profile is geared towards 13 years old and up. There is, due to privacy laws and things like that, we have to have an age limit to start using the tool. So it's 13 and up to create a profile. Now, as a counselor, again, you can see your group of students that you're working with, and within the tool will give you access to look and see what the students have completed through the process. Have they completed all 3 quizzes? Are they missing one? Within the tool, you can see who has done what, who has completed or not. And within the tool, you can also send an email to make sure that, hey, Juan, I see that you only did one of the inventories. You have 2 more to go. Please make sure you do it. That information is there, it's available, it's a great tool. I know as counselors, you are, you have a lot of students already. You are, and counseling is not only the only thing you do. You're doing other types of counseling and perhaps other jobs within the school. So thank you for what you do. I know you're really busy, and I'm hoping that you see this tool as a resource to help you with your duties. Look at a couple of more questions here. Yes, the question here is whether we have built inventories and career map on Myers-Briggs and or Holland codes. Yes, that is right. That's how this information was put together. So that is correct. Let's get going. I already told you about our social media. I want to spend some time on our ACT student phone app. What students and parents ask me many times, and even counselors, what is available out there for students to practice, to get to know how ACT asks the questions, the timing, and all of that. Well, you can download our free ACT student phone app, available for iPhone, Android. You can go to your store and just search ACT student. Within the tool, you are able to practice. You can access your account, you can view your scores, and again, access your personal information on your ACT account. But the most important thing here is you can practice. You can, as you see on the right-hand side of the screen, that screen will pop up on your phone, and then you can choose what are you going to practice: English, math, reading, or science. You will have a question. You will have 4 options for a correct answer, and then you have 4 buttons to press for your answer. Now, students, I have 4 daughters, and I know that students are glued to their phone and spend a lot of time on their phone. If someone is preparing to take the ACT test, I would recommend spend at least a half hour doing this every day. You'll be surprised how you get used to the way that we ask the question. You can time yourself to get an idea how long it takes you to answer the question. And more importantly, if you answer the question as you get it wrong, you're going to have some guidance as to where to go to get that answer right. Just give you a little pointer on, well, this is what you're considering when you're doing this, and then you can go back, work the problem again, and resubmit your answer until you get it right. So a free tool that is available, provided by ACT, along with the question of the day, an ACT profile. I think it will give you an idea and a good practice to get ready for the test. I'm going to leave this slide on for a little bit. These are some great internet resources that we have available, and this is just information that I have gathered from my prior work. I used to work on outreach here in the state of Iowa, where I live, going to schools, talking to parents, talking to students about college planning, financial aid, how to be successful in high school and college, and presenting that information in English and in Spanish. As counselors, you know that Hispanic students happen to be the fastest growing demographic, and many school districts are now minority majority. So the first resource, obviously, our ACT.org student page. A student can register there. If a student is going on college visits, we have questions to ask when the student is going on a college visit, information about financial aid, how to complete the FAFSA, resources available to help you complete the FAFSA, what to bring, and how to get ready to complete the FAFSA, which is the first step to getting some of that financial aid. Within the student page, there is also college planning for earlier grades, taking the right classes, making sure that students are taking the core curriculum, 3 years of math, 4 years of English, math, and social studies. And then we follow that with ACT profile. What you have seen on the tool, and again, is a free resource, so I will encourage everyone to use that tool. It's based on ACT research and data, it's validated, and again, it's available to students online, and everything they can create a profile, take the assessment, share that data with a counselor, a mentor, or a parent, and make sure that those conversations are taking place to make sure that the student is aligned with what he or she has to do. Third one, College Week Live. You are here for a reason, not only as a counselor, but they have great resources available to students. Students who perhaps can go on a college visit, they can come to the website, they can explore hundreds of schools, get to see some of the places perhaps that, as a student sometimes you might think, oh no, I don't see myself as college material, I don't see myself as a college student. Once they complete that application, once they do the FAFSA, once they find out that there is financial aid available and that there are resources additionally that are free, We're talking Pell Grants. I have talked to hundreds of students, and I have completed personally hundreds of FAFSAs helping students where they have come to my office and said, well, I don't think I can go to college. This college thing is too expensive for my family. We don't have a lot of money. We are broke. What I've always said is for financial aid purposes, if your family doesn't have the resources, guess what? It's a beautiful thing. You'll be able to get some of the free resources available, starting with the FAFSA, the Pell Grant, and start getting to get some of that information that is going to help you make that college dream a reality. The next one, we have scholarships.uncf.org. Again, a free resource, followed by MALDEF, the Mexican American Legal Defense and Educational Fund. They even have a listing for scholarships, even for undocumented students. Now, some of those things vary by state. So you can go to the website, download the packet of information for the scholarships, and see. I don't discourage any student from pursuing a post-secondary education, and even students who are undocumented will be able to find some type of resource to help them with their college. Let me see what other questions we have here. We have a lot of questions coming in. The question is, ACT profile only available to students who take the ACT, or can any student create a profile? The answer is any student. Any student, you don't have to take the ACT to take advantage of ACT profile. Remember, a student is creating a profile before he or she takes the ACT. So the information that happens within the tool is going to help that student have a more informed decision based on the activities that he's completing within the tool. So one of the questions here, it says, can you tell us how to purchase retired ACTs for use with our students? Student can go to our website. They can download a retired ACT test for practice. That is free. It's available, and it's on our website, act.org, /student. Let me see what else we have coming in here. This question has to do with, I think, parents who happen to be undocumented. If your parents don't do income taxes, how are you able to complete the FAFSA successfully and receive good financial aid? It depends on the student's status. If the student is here and is documented, the student will qualify for financial aid. Now, if the parents are filing income tax, if they're using an IT number, a tax ID number, even if they don't have a Social Security number, they can complete a FAFSA. In this case, if the parents don't do an income tax, but the student is here documented, I will say talk to the financial aid office at the college that you're considering and explain the situation to the financial aid officer. Under special circumstances, they might be able to do something, but again, it varies depending on the college, depending on the state that you or the student live in. What financial resources are available for our dreamers? Actually, I just became aware that there is a website for dreamers with some free scholarships available to them. You can do a search on scholarships for dreamers on your web browser and scroll to the resources. Now, I want to make sure that I also share the fact that through all of this, let's make sure that we are also, as we're advising our students, our parents, let's be aware of scams. There is a lot of scams or scholarships. Give me your credit card number, give me your checking account number, and I will send you a packet of information. I actually helped a family a few years ago where the mom, who wasn't speaking English very well, paid $800 with her debit card to get a packet of information of scholarships. A packet of scholarships that is available for free. So obviously we reported this site, we reported the person that she purchased this from, but again, there is a lot of scams available, especially for those families who perhaps are not aware or how to navigate the admissions or financial aid process. So let's keep going with the internet resources. Hopefully by now you have had a chance to write them down. collegenet.com, financial aid, finaid.org, special information for as you're going through the process of the financial aid process. Scholarships.com, FastWeb, a lot of students use FastWeb, a free resource that once you create a profile, the page starts looking for scholarships that match your profile. So next thing you know, you're getting an email that might say, well, I have, you match a profile and now you have a scholarship that perhaps you qualify for. As long as the student have an essay ready and you might have to modify it a little bit. There are multiple times that you can apply for scholarships using the same essay. Today's GIBill.org for our military friends and HispanicScholarshipFund.net. So I'll leave you with all those resources. I think a couple of more questions came in. Let me see what we have here. Does an emancipated minor need to file an income tax return in order to complete the FAFSA? One of the questions on the FAFSA is, are you an emancipated minor, and how that is determined in your state might vary by state. Know that they have to have income tax, but you want to report that information to the financial aid office before you complete the FAFSA to see what those requirements might be. If the student hasn't worked, but then again, at the time of the FAFSA, is you're emancipated, how are you supporting yourself? What kind of income? Someone is paying for your support, whether it's you or somebody else. How do you report that on the FAFSA? And let me see what else. Yes, another great resource. One of the questions that came up was about financial aid resources for Dreamers. If you go back to College Week Live, the website will have, there is actually a webinar that is there for you as a resource. So please make sure that you are taking advantage of all this amazing information that is available. Make sure that you're telling your students to go to the ACT student website, to go to College Week Live, to start looking for that information and see some of the recorded resources that are already there. If you have other colleagues or counselors who haven't been able to join during the broadcast of this webinar today, please make sure that you're sharing that information. More and more students need our help, so we need to make sure that we're helping them. Let me take just one more look here. Okay, I think we're almost done with the questions. Research resources, another thing that is going to help you to understand some of the data behind the reports that ACT has. You can go to act.org/research. You're going to have a copy of our Condition of College and Career Readiness report at the national level. You can break that down to your state level, okay? Then we have a college choice report, part 1 and part 2. Where did the students go? Students who say, I'm going to go to a 2-year college or a 4-year college, they took the ACT, we follow these students, where are they now? And then the where did they enroll? The patterns of enrollment. We follow the high school graduation class of 2012, and how far did they go, how close did they stay to home, and what kind of college choices match their preferences and the enrollment rates of the students who were reporting this information through when they registered to ACT. And then the reality of college and career readiness traces the college enrollment, retention, re-enrollment, and migration patterns of the 2011 ACT tested high school graduates. So a lot of information, ACT, 55 years of research data is there to help you. You can call our customer service number if you have any questions, but see us as a resource to help you with your efforts. Let me see if we have any more questions. And looks like I have seen them all. Well, before you go, again, I wanted to put my information. There it is for you. Happy to help however I can assist you, share some information, share some data. You have my email as well. I know this presentation will be available through College Week Live, so feel free to reach out to us. We have employees all over the country willing to come to different districts, help you understand your data, and also see what can be done and what kind of resources are available to help your students even be more successful. As a thank you for your time and tuning into the presentation. Please remember to complete a survey at the end of the session to secure your CEU contact hour. If you're viewing this on demand, please complete the short quiz to secure your CEU contact hour. We hope you will join us again on November 6th for the next session titled Engaging and Empowering Millennials. Great information, hosted by Eileen Buckley of PwC. My name is Juan Garcia, and thank you for joining us.